Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Awaken the World. Today we present The Quality of Innocence, live via the Awaken the World YouTube channel. It is Tuesday, May 8th. I believe it is still 2018, and it is 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. So today we're going to have, Jennifer. So good to see you, Jennifer. And Devorah. Two out of the box. Okay, so you know what we're going to do? I just have to do this. We're going to have a contest. I'm going to post this on the Facebook group. And I'm going to come up with something really unique that we're going to mail the winner once the contest is over. We'll run it for 1 month, and I have a good idea about this, so you guys are just gonna have to wait. Good to see you both this morning, or at least good to see your icons. You know, you're both looking a little round and tiny. It's been a hell of a couple days, and you know, that's okay. Kelly is living in her own private hell right now. And apparently the devil is not allowed there. So, anyways, you know, and none of it really matters. It's all trivial human stuff. It's all just little stuff. And really, as I keep trying to tell Kelly, all you got to do is take a view from outside of the Milky Way just for a moment, and you'll realize that nothing that happens down here matters at all. It just doesn't. Really doesn't. But it does. That's the funny thing about it. Although not in a way as most of you would expect. So, today we're going to talk about the quality of innocence. And this is actually a really important one because, you know, as I said to Kelly when we were in the second-hand store we love to check out, I said to her that there was a wedding dress for sale for $10, and unfortunately it was shiny, bright white. And I said, honey, there's no way you could wear that dress. It's just too white. And I guess that's part of the problem. As adults, you know, we really lose that quality of innocence, and we grow up, and life becomes a horrible thing for a lot of people when that happens. And yeah, oh, your hell is down somewhere, is it? Hey, honey. I'm sure Australians will be pleased. So when we talk about innocence, well, let's first define innocence, okay? And if we're to look at what the dictionary says, basically, innocence can be defined as a lack of knowledge or containing no guile or cunning. And the third one, of course, is simplicity. So, you know, according to the, and, you know, there's also, you know, innocent of a crime, for example. But we're really talking about similar sort of things here, okay? Innocence is a lack of knowledge. Now, as far as that goes, we are all innocent. All of us. We really are. Yeah, Devorah says many hells. I've heard about, yeah, you know, especially like the Chinese, for example. There are many levels of hell to visit. Personally, I've been through them all myself. No, not that big of a deal. It's all right. You can get by it. Come back out the other side. Still crispy, but doing all right. So innocence, you know, a lack of knowledge. And this is a big one because in this, the entire species is innocent. Okay, most of the things we do through a lack of knowledge. We think we're knowledgeable. We think we're all that in a bucket of crabs or shellfish, whatever. But we're not. We really are just barely in the door of preschool when it comes to our race consciousness. When it comes to you know, because you can look at a species and you can easily observe what their behavior is doing to themselves and their planet, their home, And you can make a decision that we are dangerous. Fortunately, all the advanced civilizations out there and that creative sea of consciousness knows that indeed we are innocent. We have a lack of knowledge. And great way to put it, Jennifer. I am so innocent. I have no knowledge. Accept that. And there's a reason that's such a wonderful thing, okay? Because no knowledge can fill you with awe. It can let you be empty inside. When we've overfilled that cup with our corporal knowledge, with our knowledge of this relative world and of the illusion, what do we have? We have a cup of illusions. Better to be that innocent. As far as no guile or cunning, well, we are not innocent as a species of that, or as individuals. We all display guile and cunning at some time or another. And we can give it any reason we want. We can justify it any way we want, but at the end of the day, we are indeed using guile or cunning. We have ulterior motives a lot of times. Simplicity. In this, we see, certainly not in our society, but thankfully, still within children. Still within Mother Nature. As I've said, everything is actually really simple. And that's why it's also very innocent. That's another one of the reasons why we could never have a creator that would be possessed with the concept of sending us to the hell that Kelly is currently residing in. Our creator knows we are innocent. We're literally like little babies running around. Now, keep in mind, and I've used this before, if you have a 50,000-pound baby, and that baby is ripping roofs off of houses to get to the fridge for milk, the baby is innocent, but you still have to stop the baby. You don't kill the baby, but you have to stop the baby. The qualities, I know. We're going to talk about the qualities of innocence. So, where do we see innocence naturally? And of course, babies of all sorts. It doesn't matter whether they're human babies or raccoons or baby deer or little lambs. We see innocence in babies. And this is where the qualities of innocence begin to diverge a little bit from what the dictionary says and enter in the realm of transcendental. And the reason this is so is when we see a baby, you are seeing an experience-less creation. There's no experience to shape it yet. It's just raw. It's like a seed waiting for the water and for the soil and the sun, for the experience to begin to fill it. And we see this on every level. And this is what resonates with us when we see that newborn life, that innocence. It is lacking experience. It has no knowledge. And that no knowledge state is a blessed state to be in, and is a state that we strive to return to. And we would say of that state, a state of no thought. No knowledge, just experiencing. When it comes to children, there's a couple of things about young children that I wrote down here that and because I ran out of room on the storyboard. But there's some wonderful aspects of children that we can all take to heart and incorporate within ourselves if we want to return to that state of innocence. And I'm always reminded of the song by Enigma, Return to Innocence. It is a beautiful, beautiful song about letting go, of dancing when no one's watching, like no one's watching, of singing like no one's listening, even though you may be in a crowd. And you know what? I do it all the time. It's a lot of fun. Children are always present. A child isn't worried about the interactions from yesterday. It's not worried about what's coming up tomorrow or the appointment it has to keep. A child is right now. Whatever's happening right now. And of course, we're talking about young children, because the more that ego starts to develop, the more that experience piles on, the more the innocence is lost in that shuffle. Children have no concerns about money. They have no concerns about being cool or about being productive. They don't even think about that sort of thing. They have no concern about it at all. And they are curious, endlessly curious, always asking questions, always wanting to know more, eager to fill that universe-wide void within them with experiences. And children love to show off to their parents. Now you would think, well, wait a minute, why would that be a good thing? Or why would there be a reason why we would want to show off? And this is a little tricky, because in this regard, I'm not talking about showing off to your parents. I'm talking about showing off to that sea of consciousness. Becoming a complete whole being, realizing that you are that powerful spiritual being and manifesting your unique gift here in this illusion, and literally showing off to all of creation that unique one-of-a-kind gift you have, in celebration along with everyone else who can be showing off at the same time. And that's the beauty of it. And one of the things when it comes to children, and we're going to step away from innocence for a minute, although it is still innocence, it is the childlike quality that we can have about faith, that innocence of faith. And the beautiful thing about children is they ask honest questions. Their questions have no concern what you may think of their question. The child isn't considering whether you're going to like the question or not like the question. They're just going to look you straight in the eye and ask you a question. Innocently. Not out of a desire to subvert or a desire to do harm in some way or to undermine, but just to ask an innocent question. And they will ask many of those questions. As adults, we're used to loading questions, right? We ask the kind of questions we want to ask in order to get the responses that we want or are hoping for. So we load our questions. Sometimes those questions are meant to subvert or to undermine. Possibly sometimes with good reason. But it is a habit that we pick up when we lose that childhood innocence. Another thing about children in faith and children in innocence, is that they ask openly. They have no reputation to worry about. They're not concerned whether you think that you're going to think the child is a fool for asking the question. And we as adults, we don't ask the honest questions anymore. We don't ask openly. Why? Because we're too worried about someone else is going to think. Way too worried about it. Another thing that children do is they have an expectation of an answer. In their innocence, they are expecting an answer. When they ask those honest questions, there is no doubt in their mind that you're going to give an answer. We should live our lives the same way. When we ask the questions of our Creator and the questions of our universe and the questions of our being, we should do so with an expectation, a pure and open expectation, with no doubt that the answer will be made manifest for us. And it will. It really will. The moment we learn to start listening again. Children and faith and that quality of innocence, of course, they don't always know what's best for them, as you know, and few of us can honestly say that we know what's best for us. You know, we would like to think so in our egoic sense of self, but as I've said time and time again, the number of times that I've gone ahead and followed what my head has said instead of listening to my heart, for a while it may have seemed like I got what was best for me. But you know what? It wasn't. And it didn't stay that way. Children also don't always know what's best for them, but they have this childlike innocence and a childlike faith, and they trust. They trust in their parents when they're young. And we, as adults, we need to trust in our sea of consciousness. We need to trust in our parents. The parents of all of us. That sea of consciousness, God, creation. We must have that childlike quality. And there is one last quality of innocence, and that is the favorite place a child loves to be is at home. And we're not talking about, them going over to a friend's place or a week at camp or whatever. When they're very young, home is the place they feel best. And for us, as adults, we've lost home. Home becomes that which you look after, that which needs to be repaired, paid for. It's a dwelling. Home is where we're living. Wherever we're living. Make that home. Allow that to be home. In that childlike state of innocence, home is where you are planted today. And it can be a beautiful thing. Because soon you will come to understand that all of creation is your home. And that you are not limited in any way to having any less than that. Where do we see innocence naturally? Okay, we covered babies, young children, and then, of course, those not exposed to Western ways and capitalism. And I've seen this firsthand. I've gone and visited many tribes who have almost or no contact with the Western world and have not fallen into the ways of capitalism. Money for everything. And those people retain many of those childlike qualities, much of that innocence. And I want to point out something that's been frustrating, Kelly, and I understand why, absolutely. Any of the kind of all the spiritual things we subscribe to and take a look at, a lot of these seminars, the courses, and it's not that Kelly would necessarily go out and take one. And I am quite done with those things. But it's the sheer price. It's the dollars being asked. Dollars that keep valuable, conscious-raising knowledge out of the hands of those who need it the most. The 99%. The 99% who can't come up with $2,000 to go for a week seminar, and never mind the hotel and meals and flights and everything else. We had looked into going to see Abraham on a cruise, and it was $10,000. It's crazy money. That's why I choose to do this for free. That's why I choose to help people for free. Why? Because it's not about capitalism and the ways of the West. There is no money that I could be paid that would equal the joy I feel when a person in our group starts stepping out into their existence, where the words I've said and the direction and the path I've pointed to leads to them finding their own way. That is the gift. How do you put dollars on that? This quality of innocence that few adults have anymore is directly related to the need to survive. in a society that's growing harder and harder and harder to make it. Devora says, I'm so tired of people seeing me as a dollar bill. Exactly, I too choose to help people. Yeah, and Jennifer says she agrees with that about the seminars, and it's crazy. It really is. That is not serving our planet. That is not serving raising consciousness. That a few who can afford to go can go. If we're to return to a state of innocence, if we are to return to that childlike state of being as an individual and as a species, we have to wake each other up. We have to return to that empty state. How can we do that? There's a number of things. As I said, one of the first things you can do to return to innocence and a child, stop caring about what others happen to think. A child doesn't care when they're playing whether someone thinks they're being goofy or not. When they're lost in their imagination and singing and dancing and laughing, they could care less who watches, and they have no thought about it. When they ask questions, they never once stop to think, well, is that person going to get upset with me for asking that question? No. Yeah, Devora says, one lady said to me, I have to make money. I agreed with her that she does, but you see it differently. And it's meant to be given, not sold. We need to make money too. And as I said to Kelly, I my whole life, I've always gone back to seek ye first the kingdom of God within you. And everything else that you need will be given. Naturally provided for. And you know what? To this day, it's true. Still here, not dead. A little hungry sometimes. A little cold sometimes. A little wet sometimes. But it's all experience. And it's been wonderful. Life will provide. Forget about a box. And this one's kind of funny because first I say to forget about a box and then I say to find a box. And there's two reasons why. One, get yourself out of the box. The adult box. There's one thing about children. Their minds when they're young, their creativity and imagination knows no bounds. It only knows the bounds that our system places on it and that we place on it unintentionally. Return to that state. Give up the concept of playing inside the box. As a matter of fact, forget that boxes even exist. That being said, go find the biggest cardboard box you can and turn it into a fort for a day. Really. I'm not kidding you. Go get a couple of them from an appliance place and make yourself a giant kid fort. I used to do that when I was a kid. And if you can't find a cardboard box, use all the pillows off and cushions off all the couches and your blankets and make yourself an indoor fort. And go in there with a book. Or go in there and exercise your imagination. One of the things that adults don't do anymore, and we need to do a heck of a lot more of, is honest play, to become lost in play. If we want to return to that innocent state, one of the best things we can do is learn how to play. Again, because we are here to play. We're not here to suffer. We're not here to work our asses off until we're too old to enjoy life anymore and then expect to live. We're here to play. And the more time you spend honestly playing, the more time you allow yourself to become lost in play, to become childlike in your play, the more energized and the more clear and clean you're going to feel. The more innocent you're going to feel. Some of that innocence and awe will come back to you. And in that it says, remember why you're here. You are not here to work yourself to death. You are not here to take part in a global monetary system designed to enslave the entire population to a very few rich. You're not here for any of that. You're here to love and to live and to evolve and to share and to give and to surrender and to accept and to recognize beauty and feel awe. I get lost and play with my cat, Jennifer says. Isn't that the best? Hey? Animals are great for that. Animals are also totally present. And I did have babies of all sorts, for the innocence. And, a bear, even though it is innocent, you might not want to play with it. It all depends on the day, I guess. And when it comes to this quality of innocence, we have to understand that for the most part, in our sleeping state, we are all innocent. We are all ignorant, lacking the knowledge of the larger picture going on, that deeper image, the more of it all. I want to read something to you that I actually found when I was doing a little bit of research for today, and I found it particularly well written, and it comes from zenhabits.net, and it was a little piece written by Leo Babauta. And in here, Leo says how to be childlike. And I would like to read this to you because I think this says it best. We must first acknowledge that no change is instantaneous. In other words, as I've said before, be gentle on yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't become frustrated. Give it time. Any change worth keeping takes time, but you can start today. Start by deciding to abandon caution and to give this a try. Start by identifying the qualities of children you'd like to emulate. Curiosity, play, living in the moment, abandoning worries, imagination, creativity, pure joy. Oh, Devorah says, leaving Saturday. Oh, that's going to be nice. Talk to the chickens. Observe children. Watch how they play, how they live, how they create, how they ask questions. Sure, sometimes they do dumb things like throw tantrums. And believe me, I think there's a lot more adults than children. But even in that, you can see their pure abandonment of everything. Play with children. Play with children of friends and family if you don't have your own. Lose yourself in the play. Be a dinosaur or a gorilla or a hero or a villain. Have a joyous time. Make them squeal in delight and squeal yourself. Talk with children. Ask them questions. Answer theirs. Don't talk down to them, but don't talk over top of them either. Keep things simple and concise. Albert Einstein once said that if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't really understand it yet. And I think that was a beautiful, beautiful thing he said. Absolutely. Play by yourself. Go outside and run around, jump, slide, kick a ball, pretend. Forget about who may be watching. Just pretend. Go out there and do something absolutely crazy. Create like a child. Don't be constrained by what others may expect or what you're used to. Be wild and have fun. Imagine that things can be different and that there are no limitations, and see what happens. And yes, sure, many of your creations may end up in the garbage can. I know mine do. But every once in a while, one of them is worth sticking on the fridge. And that's okay. Go ahead and create. It doesn't matter. It's all sandcastles. And like that story about the boy and the man, the boy understands that. When all his sandcastles get wiped away, they're just sandcastles. He knew all along the sea was going to take the sand back. Be the same. Be curious like a child. Look at things with the child's eye and ask questions you've never asked before. Explore with the beginner's mind. Allow yourself to experience awe. Live in the moment. Forget about all you have to do. Forget about yesterday or the conversations you had. Forget about that meeting coming up or tomorrow. Just do and be. See the world with new eyes. It is a wondrous place, a miracle happening every second. You are a miracle, and every moment is a gift. What will you do with that gift? And lastly, if you have children, stop trying to make them grow up. Stop trying to shape them and to make them into your piece of clay. Let them be and enjoy the beautiful way they are. Beautiful little piece. It really was, and it really does sound it up. Yeah, a 2-year-old can't explain their upset, and then they just let it all out. They really do. So now that we fully understand innocence again, and we know what we need to do to return to innocence, I like throwing in these little boom moments every once in a while, okay? So that, I like a good explosion. I'm a guy. Things blow up, it's fun. It's just the way it is. I don't know why. I don't even want to get into it. But at the end of the day, here's the boo moment for you, okay? It's all innocent. All of us are innocent. There isn't a single one of us that is not innocent. In this illusion, in the false Maya, we would see ourselves and others as not innocent, but in reality, we're all that baby tearing a roof off a house trying to get to the milk. We know not what we do. What does that mean? Oh, namaste, Jennifer. Please wish your friend the very best for us as well, okay? And much love to you. We'll see you soon. And we're all innocent. And the more our consciousness comes up, the more we are responsible to start seeing that innocence more and more and more. And the hardest place to see it is in the people who we perceive are causing us harm in some way, causing us trouble in some way, making life difficult in some way. They're innocent of that too. And they don't need to lock themselves into that place of taking on blame. Just as a child, we don't blame the child, but we still make the child responsible for their actions. And as adults, but still children as far as our consciousness goes, we are not to blame for our lack of knowledge. And that goes for all the knowledge that you think you could possibly possess while you're here on this planet, in this plane. All of that knowledge doesn't even represent a drop in the cosmic well of knowledge and wisdom that is waiting for you. It's okay. It's not blame. But we do own the responsibility. And what we need to do is deal with the responsibility without letting go of the innocence. Without beating the innocence right out of our children and each other. Everyone does what they can, and they do so. Oh, you can very easily make a child responsible for their actions, even prior to understanding Dvora. I mean, I've done this with it myself, and I know many parents who do. Even a 3-year-old who does something can be shown the responsibility involved when a certain action is taken. And, the issue with responsibility is we hold it at a mind level, where responsibility is always actually a doing level. And that's where part of the big problem comes in. The best example, of course, is the plate that you throw down on the ground and the plate breaks, and then you say sorry to the plate. Well, sorry is not taking on responsibility. Sorry doesn't do anything. Responsibility is always a form of doing. It's always a form of action. And a very young child can be easily taught the responsibility, the action-reaction, the cause and effect principle that is a cosmic truth of our existence on every level. What we think, we create. What we push up against, we get more of. Every action has a reaction. And that can be easily taught to children. This quality of innocence, we do have to take it right to the nth level, though, and that is just to understand that even those who would appear to be causing us harm are indeed acting out of an innocent state, and in that innocence, they are very much like that little child. Absolutely, Devorah. Even at 3. See, Devorah, you're looking at it from a point of view of a consciousness level, and that is not the right level to be looking at it. You have to look at it at a doing level. And at a doing level, a 3-year-old is very capable, for example, if they knock over a cup of Cheerios, they're very capable of actually picking those Cheerios up and putting them back in the cup, even if they don't understand why. It doesn't mean that all the Cheerios necessarily get back into the cup. It's learning the action-reaction principle, which is part of the responsibility of our own creations. And it can be done. We have parents who actively do it, actually. And it's great to see when a kid at 3.5 years old knocks over their Cheerios, says, uh-oh, and does their best to put them back into the container themselves. Not understanding why yet, but not needing to either. And that's the beauty of it. This quality of innocence is something that we must, as I said, take right to that nth level. And what does that mean when someone's trying to cause us harm? It means separating, blaming the individual, and instead accepting the responsibility that, that's not the way to put it, but understanding that it is a responsibility for what they have done, not a blaming game. And what that does is it depersonalizes. Again, it separates the idea that it's the person who's actually at fault, because, there's actually no person at fault. It's always a person's behavior. And that behavior is always based on the limits of their own consciousness. And if you read Eckhart Tolle would say, well, realistically, there's no one who should really be in a jail cell because it's not really them doing it. And I think that takes it a little bit too far. But there is truth in it. And the truth is this, is that no matter who you are, you're doing the best you can right now. In that, you're totally innocent. In the state of consciousness you're in, and this is a very strong message for anyone who's beating up on themselves, or who feels they're suffering, or feels that they're their own worst problem. You are not. You're doing the best you can with what you have and the consciousness you have right now, and in that you are innocent. Responsibility is still yours, but stop blaming yourself. That's really it, where we're going to wrap it up for today. Big video coming on Thursday. It's going to cover a few really heavy topics, again, around family. Funny how that one always turns out. And family really is the crucible. It really is. Speaking of hell, that's what we have on the go for Thursday. So, much love. Namaste to you all. I hope you have a wonderful day. And Thursday's coming quick, and we'll try and stick in another little live on Facebook sometime in this week as well. Take care. Enjoy that sunshine, and we will see you Thursday.